Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sit-Down. Oh, man, I got to have a classic Seaman weekend and hit the movies on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, something I haven't done since before vacation, man. My schedule's been all over the place. I haven't been able to do the things I like the most, which is getting to the theater a lot. And getting to go Thursday, Friday, Saturday this weekend, I was so excited. And I got a couple absolutely spectacular movies. And the first one we're going to talk about, I put on my sloth space shirt because we're going to take a journey out to space, an epic journey with Mr. Brad Pitt that I absolutely love, man. This is one of the best sci-fi space movies I've seen in like the last 10 years. Not everyone's going to agree with that, but I'm going to tell you why. So why don't you pull up a chair, man, take a seat. We're getting ready to dive in spoiler-free into Ad Astra. Now, I said not everybody's going to agree with me on that, and that's because if you go and you look at the audience score, it is not reflective of, the certified fresh critic score it has. It's actually a lot lower, and I think it's people were expecting something more like Interstellar, or Gravity, that was like going to be more about, oh man, it's all about the visuals, or oh man, like we're going to entertain you and give you this awesome space action. It's not what this movie is. It's actually more like 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's more of a cowboy Western, that's out in space. It's about one guy. And while there are elements of this movie that are entertaining and exciting, it is a more Space Odyssey kind of vibe. It's a slower paced movie. It's methodical. It's very somber and it's very deep. And I think that may not have connected with audiences that were expecting to go be entertained. In like the positive up, like, oh man, wow, oh my gosh. This movie doesn't make you do those things in that way. It makes you do them in a, wow, holy cow. You've got me, man. I'm pulled in. This movie is, like I said, deep. And while it might not have been what everybody expected, when you really look at what James Gray is doing from a writing and directing standpoint, and when you look at what Brad Pitt is doing as he gives us one of the best performances of his career, this movie is absolutely spectacular. And I think maybe knowing the definition, the meaning of Ad Astra would help people know that this was going to be a heavier, methodical kind of movie, because it comes from a Latin phrase, per aspera ad astra, that means through hardships to the stars. And oh man, that's exactly what this movie is, man. This movie is about those hardships, those things that Pitt has had to go through in his life after, his dad went, Tommy Lee Jones' character goes out on a mission out toward the edge of the solar system and never comes home. And all the things that he had to go through from that point to where he is now to where he goes through this movie and the hardships he goes through in this movie kind of give you an idea of that, oh man, this is going to be a heavy movie. This is going to be something that's really trying to connect right here, get all the way down real deep. And it's, a different kind of intelligent movie than, say, something like Interstellar. That's, highly smart, and that Christopher Nolan, everything does is very intelligent. It's thought-provoking. But this is kind of like, let's scrape past all the crap in life and get down to the one, maybe two central things that really matter. And when you can see that, I think you can see how impressive this movie is. What James Gray and Ethan Gross have done from a writing standpoint is wow, man. The material they give Pitt and the story and the meaning, the message that they're trying to send. There are two, real central messages here. One is all about the humanity of Brad Pitt and humanity in general, and that disconnect of humanity. Where it's like, in order for Brad Pitt's character to be the best he is, the best astronaut, you kind of got to live in this place where you're always calm, where you're always in control. And it gives a more monotonous sort of vibe, but it accentuates the emotional impact moments as Pitt deals with the fact that he's kind of lost his connection to humanity, that, he's distant from his wife. He's more distant from people in general. He likes to be alone in space. And while he goes on this journey to go find his father, there are things that come up that really make him question that philosophy and question that maybe trying to get away from Earth isn't what it's about. Maybe it is about being on Earth and being with people and connecting with our humanity. And that message is so abundantly clear and so poignant and meaningful in a time period where maybe not in a robotic way, but Certainly, in very violent and evil ways, people have lost their touch with humanity, and the negatives that we're getting here, maybe instead of running from those, we need to all confront that. And that's definitely one of the main points in this movie, man. It's all about Brad Pitt refinding that humanity that he's kind of disconnected himself from. But it's also all about a father and a son, and what that connection means, and how even though, his dad goes on a mission, never comes home, maybe died out there, you have no idea. There are no answers. You have to deal with that. And it's either, did he go and leave because he didn't want to be here, or did he go and just never get a chance to come back? And in dealing with that, Pitt does what I think a lot of sons want to do, and that's make your dad proud. And he goes on this journey of becoming the best astronaut he can be. His dad was one of the greatest astronauts to ever live. How do you live up to that? You become the greatest living astronaut at that point in time. And then when he's finally given the hint that, like, maybe your dad is alive, all of those, he has to deal with all those things in a, oh man, like, all this time I've been trying to be like my dad. Maybe I'm turning into my dad, and maybe turning into my dad isn't the way to go. Maybe he's not as good as I thought he was. And all of those feelings that kind of go on in that turmoil between a father and son, so apparent here, but also that through line all the way underneath it, that, like, you're still my dad. I love you. That connection and that power of that connection, how strong that can be when, it's not even a direct attack right to you, or like, hey, like, I'm leaving you and your mom, or I cheated on your mom, or something like that could break you in an anger and an upset way. Even through all that, though, that through line is like, you always kind of want to, impress your parents, make them proud. And those two things I think are so important, are really the heart of this movie. And when you're following those two stories, the performance you get from Brad Pitt is one of the best in his career. Because that material sets him up to do something that is very nuanced. It's very subtle. People that were saying, like, some of the things I was reading, like, Brad Pitt is super monotonous. Oh my gosh, so boring. What a boring performance. You're missing it. You're missing what he's doing. Like I said, he's got to be here. They reference in the movie that he's never had his heart rate go over 80 ever in any of his missions, including that, scene that we've seen in the trailers where he's, like, falling off of that rig. Never. Because to be the best, you got to be here. He's got to always be in control. To be able to survive space, you have to be in complete control of your emotions. And to do that, he ends up here. And like I said, that disconnect from humanity has also kind of brought him to here. But the nuance in that kind of monotonous vibe of creating this very robotic, rigid character, which I think is very, very purposeful, then allow Pitt to do these, like, little tiny emotional things where he breaks, like, he has moments where, like, he's reading a letter to his dad when they bring him to Mars, trying to see if he's out there to make some sort of connection. And that scene is one of the best acted parts of the movie, and it's the second time they do it, not the first. But, like, you get this where you get something really, really powerful and impactful, and it's almost a duality right there in that scene where, like, you get this, I'm reading right off a script, to I'm gonna say what I feel. And when he hits those emotional moments in the movie, you go, pshoo, pshoo, or where he's starting to question things about his journey or what he's doing. You get these huge peaks. And the just subtlety to his performance, it's so delicate, it's so intricate, it's so purposeful in everything he's doing. I was just blown away by Brad Pitt, and he carries this film start to finish. Yes, he's got a really nice supporting cast around him, but their roles are all super minimal, man. I mean, Donald Sutherland, Ruth Negga, Liv Tyler, Tommy Lee Jones, they're all solid. They all have great performances, but small. This thing's all about Brad Pitt. Now, there is one character. He's kind of in space with a group of 3 people for a journey. He goes from Earth to the moon, which you kind of fly commercial. You can fly commercial to the moon. One of the coolest things. We're not going to get into what Gray does from a directing standpoint, because he does the things that I've never seen in space. But, like, you kind of, like, go to gate, like, 12 and you'll go to the moon. But then from the moon, you go to Mars, and then from Mars out to Neptune, which is where they think his dad is. And while you're on that journey, you're kind of with this group of astronauts. But the captain, Lawrence Tanner, played by Donnie Keshawars. Wow, man! Like, he was one of the best, like, back and forth. Someone that could kind of get in with Pitt. The interactions that they have sum up so much of what's going on in Pitt, like, with his character and being in control and, like, knowing the mission while everyone else doesn't know the mission. I just thought that Kesha Awards kind of surprised me and gave me a performance like, oh wow, that kind of stood out. So I wanted to call that out. But those guys, they're all there just to support what Pitt's doing. And then when you look at, like, the space stuff, like, yeah, this movie's methodical and it's slower paced, and maybe you get a lot more alone time than you expect, and there's not as much action. But Gray gives us a few sequences that are like anything you've never seen before. Like that sequence where Pitt falls off that rig. Wow, like kind of has Gravity vibes to it, but it is done in a more deliberate, more real feeling way. And it's just a wow sequence. Like anytime you're just outside the atmosphere and you're looking down at Earth, the way like it's beautiful. Then you have that moon buggy sequence where it's like that moon buggy chase scene, and there's like a shootout going on during it. Mind blowing. It was everything you wanted. It was awesome, and the things that it plays with the moon and like the dark side of the moon, and how like you just get one of these scenes that I was just like, wow, I've never seen anything like that. And from an action standpoint, those are kind of the two big ones. Then you get a lot of wonderful, beautiful space shots. I mean, you're going all the way out, like past Jupiter and Saturn, and then to Neptune. And there's bits where like they go through the rings of Neptune, and you're just like, wow, this is wow. And stuff going on outside the spaceship. You're just like, wow, dude, it's beautiful. But what was interesting is there's kind of a grainy grade to the film where it doesn't look like this HD, super sharp, clean cut like Gravity or an Interstellar, but kind of it was a little bit more grainy in the way it's shot and the way it's delivered from a technical standpoint. I just think make it all feel more tangible and feel more realistic than some of the other space movies I've seen. So for me, I thought Ad Astra was brilliant, man. I mean, you get really, really poignant story marks, really important messages about, the relationship between, a father and a son, and the relationship that one has with humanity and how important that humanity is. It just all culminates into a really phenomenal space story, and it gives Brad Pitt a place where he can play and have one of the best performances of his entire career. He's having an unbelievable year, man. Between Ad Astra and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Brad Pitt is right now looking at nominations for Best Supporting Actor and Best Actor in a Motion Picture this year. That's how good he's been. He's at the top of his craft, and I thoroughly enjoyed watching it. The question is, did you? Like I said, the audience is more negative about this movie than the critics were, or certainly than I was. So where did you land? I've talked to some people that have seen it and were like, it was phenomenal, and I also talked to some people that are like, yeah, I mean, it's slow, man. It was kind of boring for stretches. Where do you fall, man? Were you completely enwrapped in this thing? Were you somewhere in the middle? Did you think it didn't work? Let me know everything you're thinking, and then even if no matter where you land on that scale, what did you like or dislike about Pitt's performance? What space things did you find really interesting? Was there anything that captured your imagination, made you go wow? And why those wows may not have been like, oh wow, like whoa, and more like wow. Like, did you appreciate it? Did you see what was going on? Leave me everything you're thinking down below in the comments. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new, you want to come hang out with the old C-Man, you know what you got to do, man. You got to go hit that subscribe button and hit that little bell that follows so you get alerts every time I drop a new video. For the C-Man Cinema Sit-Down, I am the C-Man. I am blasting off, man. Peace! Well, you guys are still here. You must be looking for some more content. Well, don't worry. C-Man's got you covered, man. You got videos like this guy and this guy. And if you haven't yet, and you want to come check out all the C-Man goodies, join the Cinema Sit-Down squad, man. Hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the little bell down below that, too, so you can get alerts every time I make new videos.